Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here for the third installment of my Star Wars review series where I review each and every Star Wars physical media. And we're in the third one, 1983's Return of the Jedi. And I just wanted to show you guys the bobbleheads that I was talking about, the Yoda bobblehead right here. Right here, the Yoda bobblehead, right? I'm pointing to the wrong one, but the Yoda bobblehead, Dagobah Yoda right there. Um, uh, and Yoda and Dagobah plays an important role in the beginning. Now, again, this is 1983. This wasn't supposed to be the final uh, movie in the trilogy because originally, when Lucas was conceiving of it, he told us that it would be in 12 parts. Keep in mind, uh, the Flash Gordon serials that it was inspired by was done in 12 parts. So he told us there will be 12 movies initially, and then he switched it to 9, right? But he's gone through a lot of personal problems in his life recently. Over the time that he's become successful, he's established Skywalker Ranch. Uh, New Hope was a big success. Empire Strikes Back was an even bigger success. The highest grossing movie of 1980. But his wife, Marsha Lucas, is splitting from him. Marsha Lucas, also a filmmaker, she was very influential in the first one in the cutting and editing of the movie. So, but she's getting a divorce from him. You know, they adopted a child together. It was after it was discovered that Lucas was not able to have natural children. He adopted children, and he's basically starting a family. But all this is happening. And basically, like other divorces, George Lucas gets his money taken by his wife, Marsha Lucas, mostly all of it. But now he's a single father and he wants to spend more time with his kids. So he promised that he would wrap this thing up, this thing called Star Wars, and he wraps it up and puts a bow on it. And I believe because of that, because of his personal problems, his divorce, and now him being a single dad, this movie suffers because of that lack of originality. He just throws shit together. We go back to Tatooine. The good guys now are going to Jabba's palace to try and save Han Solo, and they have a plan. They'll send C-3PO and R2-D2 there first as decoys to try and um, coax Jabba into giving Han Solo back. When that doesn't work, they send in Princess Leia, but that doesn't work. Princess Leia is captured, and she's made to be Java's slave, and her outfit, her sexy slave outfit, the Princess Leia slave outfit, like Ross from Friends said, this becomes a fantasy of a lot of Gen Xers that grew up loving Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's a really sexy outfit. Carrie Fisher, rest in peace. She looks great in this outfit, man. So sexy. But again, they failed to still capture Han Solo. Finally, Luke, who's been who has upped his skill as a Jedi Knight, his use of the Force, he tries to persuade Jabba, and he eventually doesn't persuade him. He succeeds, and they have a battle with Jabba and his Princess Leia, who escapes from slavery and strangles Jabba. And Han Solo, Boba Fett, the bounty hunter. We were introduced to Boba Fett in the first, Empire Strikes Back, for the first time. He's the bounty hunter. You saw it too, David. He's the bounty hunter who goes to get Han Solo, right, for Jabba. He chases after them, and he is eaten and pushed into the Sarlacc pit. The Sarlacc pit, a big animal, and it is assumed that he died. But the good guys now are the good guys now have succeeded. They defrost Han Solo, and Han Solo is astonished to learn that uh, Luke Skywalker is now calling. Trish Stratus loved the Star Wars movies. Okay, wow. Finally, a hot girl that loves Star Wars. That's rare to find. He's astonished to learn, and wrestling. He's astonished to learn that Luke now considers himself a Jedi, but he's like, whatever. Luke has delusions of grandeur now, so um, Luke has to go back and complete his training with Yoda, and he goes to Dagobah because he's curious to know, like the rest of us are curious to know, is it true? Is Darth Vader really his father? You know, but when he gets to Dagobah again with Yoda, see Yoda again. Yoda is dying. Yoda is over 400. He's hundreds of years old. And he tells Luke, "When you get to be this old, how great will you look?" But while Yoda is on his deathbed, Luke has to know. Luke says, "Is it true? Is Darth Vader really my father?" And Yoda says, "Your father, he is." He says, "I can't defeat," and Luke now is conflicted. He says, "I cannot kill my own father." And then Yoda starts to say, "There is another Skywalker," and then he dies, right? And then he disappears. Now Luke is confused, and who appears to him is Obi-Wan Kenobi's. Who appear? Oh, Trish likes Star Wars. Who appears to him is Obi-Wan Kenobi's Force Ghost. And he says to Obi-Wan, "Why did you lie to me? Why did you tell me that that my father was murdered by Darth Vader, and not that Darth Vader is actually my father?" And he says, "It's true from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view," Luke says, he says, "you'll find, Luke, that many of the truths we cling to have more than one interpretation, basically." He says, "Be careful. The Emperor will manipulate you when you go to face Darth Vader. You know, you're in touch with your feelings, but they could be made to serve the Emperor." And he says, "Yoda spoke of another. Who is the other?" He says, "The other that he spoke of is your twin sister." He goes, "But I have no sister." And then he feels it with the Force. He feels that Princess Leia is his sister. Leia is my sister. And then it's confirmed that Princess Leia is Luke's sister. So now the Emperor arrives. Emperor arriving on his ship. He and Darth Vader are commiserating because Darth knows, Vader knows that Luke will come looking for him because he will capture his friends and he will capture the good guys. And they're talking about also the completion of yet another Death Star. So the good guys then are stranded on the forest moon of Endor. Now, Endor is inhabited by, I'm just going to outright say what I consider them as little teddy bears, little Ewok, the Ewoks, little teddy bears. And these teddy bears are a primitive race of people. They eventually capture the good guys. They consider C-3PO as their god. C-3PO knows how to communicate with them. And he's basically telling the events of the previous movies to them. And they aid in the defeat of the bad guys, later on. But these Ewoks, which is actually caused a lot of problems with the fan base because uh, people were like, "What is Lucas thinking?" You know what I mean? Little teddy bears. and they were completely upset with George Lucas because like it seemed like he lost his way because again he's rushing he's rushing the he's rushing the completion of these movies even when he even when he names Leia Luke's sister. Initially the storyline was supposed to be that Luke's sister was somewhere across the galaxy. That they were twins, but they were separated by birth. They were separated by birth, but the fact that it's Leia makes it extremely convoluted because in the first two movies, it seemed like Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker were like lovers. They even kissed in Empire Strikes Back, and now they're brother and sister. What in God's name? What in the God of Alabama's name is going on here? There's a lot of incest going on in a galaxy far, far away. Now, there is something called genetic sexual attraction that when people are are related and they're separated by birth, when they reconnect, there is initially a romantic attraction between them. That is something real in psychology. So perhaps Lucas was tapping into that, but many people just believe it was something overlooked. But it does explain a lot, not only their initial attraction to each other through genetic sexual attraction, but also the connection that they had. Remember, at the end of Empire Strikes Back, Leia can sense where Luke is. Before she goes to rescue him, Leia can always sense where Luke is. She has that extraordinary ability, and that explains a lot. But it just seemed like she was shoehorned in, honestly, to most people. So Luke goes to Endor, this forest moon, and that's what's cool about with Star Wars. In the beginning, it was a desert planet that was in Tunisia. Then it's the Hoth planet, all ice. Now it's a vegetation planet in Endor, each and a gas planet, a cloud planet. They're exposing us to an entire world, an entire universe. So Luke is brought before the Emperor throne, and here, like Vader is trying to turn Luke, and Luke is trying to turn Vader. Luke believes Luke believes that he can find the third option. Yoda and Obi-Wan in their spirit form, they're telling Luke that he has to kill his father. There's no other option in order to save the rebellion and to save the galaxy. Basically, he has to kill his father. Luke is saying, no, there's another way. And the other way is to turn his father back to the good side. He, through his force powers, he can sense that there is good within his father. He says, Father, I can sense that there is good in you. You were once Anakin Skywalker, my father. And Vader is saying, it's too late for me, son. I'm already damaged. I'm already super controlled by the Emperor. I'm basically a slave to the Emperor. I'm his lapdog. And that's interesting that Vader had that evolution because in the first movie, it seemed like he was the lapdog of Grand Moff Tarkin, who was leading the Empire. Now he's the lapdog of the Emperor, right? Only in the second movie did he seem like the major villain. Like the first movie, he kind of seemed like a background character, and now he's portrayed as basically the Emperor's slave. He's the slave of the Emperor. That's how he became Darth Vader. He was born as well. Spoiler alert, giving it away. In the next movie, they reveal he was born a slave on Tatooine, and now he's a slave again in his adult life, but not to Watto, the junk dealer, but to the Emperor. But Luke believes that he can turn his father. He doesn't have to destroy him. And Vader also believes that he doesn't have to destroy his son, that he can turn his son to the dark side. Now, what we don't know and what is not yet established in Star Wars is that there is a rule of two. There can only be two Sith at a time. a master and an apprentice. There can never be more than one, because one of the uh, one of the main Sith beliefs is jealousy, and one gets too powerful, he wants to overthrow his master. So there can only be two, and that was established by Darth Bane. So, in order for Darth Vader and Luke to rule the galaxy as father and son, like he said, they have to destroy the Emperor, and that's what they plan to do. So basically, somebody's going to die. Either the Emperor, Darth Vader, or Luke. Somebody is going to die in this one, and we'll see who. So they're battling in front of the Emperor's throne room, and this is some of the greatest cinema, and this is where we're introduced for the first time the Emperor as Ian McDiarmid. And Ian McDiarmid plays this part so well, because really, in his mind, he doesn't care who wins and who loses. Because if Vader loses, he still has his old apprentice. And if Luke, he has a new apprentice if Vader loses. If Vader wins, he has his old apprentice. And if Luke wins, he has a new apprentice. So he really doesn't care. But the point is, he has to turn Luke to the dark side. He has to get Luke to give in to his hate. So he says, good. Each and every time Luke is fighting with a lot of veracity. And they even say, that's when Vader discovers that he has another child. He says, if I can't turn you, maybe I can turn your sister. And then Luke gets upset. He starts battering his father. He starts beating his father up. And the Emperor is loving it. He goes, take your father's place at my side. But Luke doesn't give in. Despite the fact that Luke has worn black throughout the entire movie, he doesn't give in. He says, no, I am Luke Skywalker. I'm a Jedi like my father. And the Emperor goes, you will pay the price for your lack of vision. And with force lightning, he's frying Luke Skywalker in front of his father. And Luke is pleading, Father, please help me, please. And Vader, he's almost powerless to do anything, because here his son, his only son, is dying right in front of him. But he is such a slave at this point to the Emperor that he can't do anything. But something snaps within him. He says, you know what? Fuck this. My son is dying. My only son is dying right in front of me. So let me do something to save his life. And he picks up the Emperor and he throws the Emperor down and he kills the Emperor, right? On the ship. But the ship is about to be destroyed by the rebels. So now Vader is a good guy. And Luke is trying to get Vader out of there. But Vader is severely injured after the fight. But Vader tells him, take off my mask. I want to look upon you with my own eyes. He says, but Father, if I take your mask off, you'll die. He goes, it is too late for that, son. And and as he's dying, he says, tell your sister you were right. You were right about me. Basically, you were right about me, Luke. There was still good in me. Tell your sister you were right. And then he dies. It's one of the most emotional scenes and my favorite scene in the entire saga. It shows a care between a father and a son. And I was introduced to the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy, as a child by my own stepfather. And that's why this holds a special place in my heart, this particular scene for me personally. And Sebastian Shaw plays the part of the dead Darth Vader. So Darth Vader is played by three different Men, uh, Dave Prowse, the physical part, James Earl Jones, the voice, and Sebastian Shaw, the good Darth Vader thus far. And the uncompleted Death Star is destroyed by the Rebel Alliance and the Ewoks. And Carrie Fisher repeats the line that Han Solo said in Empire Strikes Back. He says, "I love you," and she says, "I know." And Luke confesses to Carrie Fisher that she's his sister. Then she says, "I know. Somehow, I always known." Han Solo is jealous. He thinks that Luke is trying to make moves on her. uh, she says, "If I am before he goes to fight Darth Vader, he says, if I am destroyed, it's up to you to lead this mission." She says, "You have a." He says, "You have." She says, "You have a power that I have that I don't have and could never have." He says, "No, the Force is strong in my family. I have it. My father has it, and my sister has it." And basically letting her know that she too has Force powers. And it ends with the entire galaxy celebrating and a cremation ceremony for Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker and the three Force ghosts appearing: Anakin Skywalker, Yoda, and Obi-Wan Kenobi that only Luke can see. And it's an indication that Darth Vader has been redeemed. That Darth Vader is no longer Darth Vader. That the man Anakin Skywalker lives while the machine monstrosity that is Darth Vader has died. But in the end, despite all the destruction he wreaked upon the galaxy, there was good in Darth Vader, and the good was his son. His son, saving his son was more important than serving the Emperor. And just like Han Solo in the first movie, it shows that a good man can become a good man, a bad man through his actions can become a good man. A selfish man can learn to serve others. There's a very Christ-like element to it. And that is the end of the original trilogy, 1983, Return of the Jedi. And it has a double meaning. The Jedi Order that was destroyed by the Empire is now back, and the Jedi, the greatest Jedi of them all, Anakin Skywalker, is now back in the fold as a Jedi. Now, Star Wars takes a break, a long break. It doesn't return to cinemas until 1999. What happens in 1997 is that George Lucas takes a long break. He finishes up Indiana Jones after a while, and his kids are getting older, and they've never actually seen Star Wars, right, in theaters because they've come out on tape. They're now part of the culture, basically, throughout the entire rest of the 80s, but his children have never seen it. So now technology has come a very long way. He founds Industrial Light and Magic. Eventually, he founds Pixar, and he gets the itch again that he wants to play around with them. So initially in 1997, the 20th anniversary of the release of the original Star Wars, he re-releases them in theaters. And that's when I saw them. You know, I didn't see them in 77, obviously, or in 1980 or 1983. I wasn't even born then when they were released. But in 1997, through a friend, Joshua, and through his loaning of me the game, The Shadow of the Empire, and through seeing it with my stepdad, I became interested in Star Wars after seeing them on VHS and on TV countless times. I wanted to finally see them in theaters when they were re-released in 1997, these special editions. Now, many fans don't like the special editions. There are arguments about the special editions because Lucas basically is very powerful now. He begins to play around with them, tweak them in certain ways that fans don't like. Like, for example, Greedo Han shot first in the confrontation with Greedo in episode 4, but he makes Greedo shoot first because he said that's not something Han Solo would do. Well, what about the whole redemption arc of the first movie with Han Solo? That doesn't make any sense. He shows Jabba the Hutt in the first movie. Jabba's only talked about in the 1977 version. But anyway, that didn't really matter to me much because I was getting to see Star Wars in theaters for the first time ever, and I was excited about that. And then in 1999 comes Episode 1. For many years, and it began in like 95. Lucas said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to retrack and I'm going to tell the story of how Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. So people are excited. People are like, wow, we're going to get this backstory. We're going to find out about the Clone Wars. We're going to find out about all these stories that were only alluded to in the first 3 movies. We're going to find out all this. They're really excited. They're really excited about what George Lucas is going to do. And then finally, in 1999, in the coming attractions to a Brad Pitt movie called Meet Joe Black, the first trailer for The Phantom Menace comes out. And that's where we leave off. The fourth movie, the fourth installment, and the first prequel. Now, we're going to have a lot of fun talking about the prequels. They caused a lot of controversy with the fan base. Initially, fans are happy to see them back. You know, it's been years, right, since the release of, from 1983 to 1999. We didn't have any Star Wars, any original Star Wars content other than the re-releases. People are already upset about the re-releases. Imagine what how they're going to react with the new one. But in '99, there was a lot of mania surrounding this. Pepsi had a thing where they had Pepsi can collectibles with a character from Phantom Menace. Fans were excited. I remember the excitement surrounding that time in May of 1999. So that's where we leave off, and we'll talk about the Phantom Menace next. Thank you, David, for contributing. Thank you. Trish Stratus versus Chelsea Green. I don't know. Trish Stratus is kind of old for a U.S. title run, David, but maybe if you say so. Peace.